good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it may be at the time that you are listening to this podcast. I am your host, Miss U'nique, and welcome in. Welcome in. This is Beyond Unique Shattered Dreams, where every shattered dream becomes a sometimes harsh reality. Yes, it does. Welcome back, everyone. Today's episode will be a little heavy. It could be a little triggering to some. I believe my last episode was a little heavy. If you all haven't heard the last episode, it is called Daddy Issues, Deathbed Confessions. So that is definitely one to listen to for sure. So on this episode most definitely would be underneath unique family ties. And also there will be a unique blessing to be talked about at the end of this. Yeah. So I wanted to start where I was at a church retreat. And for those of you that don't know what a retreat is, a bunch of women or a bunch of men get together, and they talk about God. They have different sessions, do different things, different activities and stuff like that over a weekend, usually, or a couple of days or a week or something like that. So this was a retreat that was over a weekend, I believe. And there were different classes, different sessions, different things. I believe I bought my own, or I was asked to prepare something for this retreat. And I did actually. And it was a booklet called Soul Therapy. And it just helped to kind of dive deep with some of those things that we may press down and push down. But that's not exactly what I want to talk about. But I do believe that I contributed to this retreat as well. But this particular session that we walked into it, and there was a big cross that was in the middle of the floor. There was a big wooden cross. And we were asked in this session, to take time to think about everyone that we needed to forgive. And they gave us these index cards and these thumbtacks. These colored thumbtacks, I believe. And they gave us these index cards and pens to write with. And we were all to go into our respective corners or at the table or whatever and take time and actually think about the people that we needed to forgive. Because we were going to have to take these people and we were going to have to put their names on those index cards and then kind of nail them to the cross, right? We were to take those thumbtacks and that index card and push that index card into the cross, nailing that person to the cross in the sense of forgiveness, right? Like giving it to God, so to speak. And as I'm doing this exercise, I am I know I got to forgive my mom, and I know I got to forgive my dad, right? These are things that I know, and I got to forgive my brother, right? But then something comes up. Something comes up that I was like, whoa, where did that come from? So all of a sudden, I have all these thoughts and feelings rushing through me. And it was just kind of, I don't know, it just seemed like this room in me had been unlocked, and I am facing my uncle in this room, right? And this is how I'm feeling. I'm not necessarily seeing a vision yet or anything, but this is how I'm feeling. And all of a sudden, I began to remember, and I'm like, I need to forgive my uncle. And I'm like, well, why do I need to forgive my uncle? And the reason why this was odd is because this uncle was like my favorite uncle. Okay? Like, this uncle was my favorite uncle. This uncle was like my security guard, like went everywhere with me, went to the bus stop with me to wait for the bus for me. He waited for me at the bus stop to get off the bus. And if I went to the store, he went to the store with me, right? So imagine this coming up after all of these years. And let me just preference this by saying he had been gone at least a decade at this time. He had passed away when I was 14, and I'm like 22, like 20, no, I hadn't made it to 24, so not a full decade, but maybe 8 years, something like that. And I might have been like 22 or something, maybe, or 23 at this age. And so all of a sudden, I began to see myself as a little girl. And in a previous episode, I described my old childhood home, which had a mother-in-law suite, is what they call it, which is the top suite, top floor, upstairs. And my grandma and my uncle lived up there. And I also lived with my grandma upstairs for a while, for about 5 years. And my mom was downstairs. She was downstairs. She was home. She was downstairs, but my grandma offered to help her with me, and she also had my brother. So my uncle is upstairs as well. So I began to remember that I began to see myself, right, as this 3-4-year-old little girl. And I'm in my uncle's room, and I am kind of watching this scene. It's like I'm there all over again, watching myself as this little girl and watching my uncle. And he basically is having me touch him. Yes, inappropriately. But I must say something here at this place. My uncle wasn't, we gonna say, for lack of better words, normal. My uncle was, we always said in our family, mentally ill, and he was actually, if anyone can think of, Rain Man, think of like the movie Rain Man, if anybody's seen Rain Man. And Rain Man used to talk to himself. He used to do numbers and stuff all the time. Seemed to be super smart, but had a whole lot of facts about like one thing. I believe it's been years since I watched it, but that's who my uncle reminded me of. And there was a reason why. My uncle would write numbers just all day long. He would just write numbers in a straight line. There were like these cigarette cartons, and they would have like 20 something cigarette packs inside of these bigger cartons, right, that were made out of paper or whatever. And I remember he would take the inside of these cigarette packs, and they would be all white on the inside, and the writing and stuff would be on the outside. But he would just write letters. Write small numbers just all day long, just in a row, up and down, just all day. And he would just laugh out loud for no reason. Nothing's going on. We don't know what, just all of a sudden, nothing's funny. He's just laughing out loud. So when I'm younger, I didn't know why that was. There wasn't really an explanation to that, really. But other than my mom told me that when he was younger, and I forgot how young, I want to say somewhere about 18, 19. I could be wrong with the age, but I want to say somewhere around there. And I want to say the story was he was walking home, or I don't know where he was walking to. He was either walking home or walking from somewhere, and a group of boys jumped him. So I guess they might have been somewhere around his age or so, or not too far off. And they jumped him and they beat him with a bat. I forgot if my mom said it was a metal bat or not, but the significant part of this was they not only beat him, but they beat him in his head. Right. So they beat him in his head pretty severely. So my uncle definitely had to kind of, to a degree, have a little bit of supervision and us kind of watch over him. So that's kind of all I knew growing up. So I mentioned this to say, definitely this was not someone that was in their right mind at all. And as I got older, I believe God brought me to something that I was able to come across. I remember seeing this on TV, and I was like, hey, I believe that that's what my uncle had. And he had passed away by this time. And I don't believe that this was a diagnosis or anything while he was living. And if it was, it wasn't something that was like, written in those medical books just quite yet or whatever. But it is called PBA. And don't butcher me if you, if I butcher this, please don't crucify me. But it is called pseudobulbar effect. P is in Peter, B is in boy, A is in alpha. PBA is a medical condition that causes crying and or laughing that is sudden, frequent, uncontrollable, and is exaggerated or doesn't match how you feel. PBA may be caused by a neurological damage related to your neurologic condition or brain injury, but it is separate and a treatable condition. And this is a neurologic condition or brain injury. Okay, so I believe wholeheartedly that God allowed me to see that because I was able to kind of connect the dots back to my uncle. Even though he had passed away, this is what was transpiring inside of him. And we did not have a diagnosis for that or anything at that point in time. Once again, in my family, he was just called mentally ill. So we knew that there was something wrong there. So now I take you back to when I am now at the church retreat. And this door becomes unlocked and I see myself and I'm seeing my uncle and I'm seeing this happen and transpire. And I just started bawling. And I just was just so, it was rough. It was uncontrollable. It was like Niagara Falls were just falling from my eyes. Like, I could not contain how I was feeling. And I did complete that exercise, and I did put his name, as well as my, other family and other people that I had to forgive, on that index card and on that cross. And I remember after that, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not even something my mother knows. This is something that I need to share with her. And I remember that. I remember having to share that with her, and that was a big deal, because I had never told her anything like that before. And so that was a really big deal. She had never, I never came to her. I've never said anything like that to her. And she didn't know what to do herself. She didn't know what to do herself. We clearly are like, okay, well, it's too late to do anything. She was very sorry. She very much was apologetic, and she didn't even know what to say. And I just wanted to share it with her. But my mother was definitely very hurt by the situation. And I appreciated how she felt her feelings and how she dealt with my feelings around it. And what I gathered from that is that God blacked that out, and he blacked that out from my mind, because it definitely was something that he blacked that out from my mind. And it's definitely something that I understand why he did, because like I said, this uncle he was my favorite uncle. He did everything for me. He did everything for me. And for years, for years. And I believe that God did not want to destroy me or allow me to be destroyed by this situation, because very possible I could have been knowing something like that. And I was, in it, I was living with my grandma and my uncle upstairs, and we were taking care of my uncle and things like that. And so I just think that would have been so crushing. And not to say that anybody that's listening to this have not dealt with a similar situation, and it may not have been blacked out for them. And I get that, and I understand that. And all of our journeys are different, right? All of our journeys are different. But I can say that in my journey, I was very thankful and very grateful that that was something that was blacked out until the appropriate time. And I had to forgive in that space and time. And as I think about it today, so many young women and girls, ladies, men, it's happening to as well. Young boys, of course, have these kind of things that happened in their family, and no one ever talked about it. Now, my situation is a tad bit different, because I never said anything, because I just didn't know. It was absolutely blocked out away from me. And, God has his reasons of doing things. And like I said, this was a very deep one, and so many of us experience these type of things in families. And unfortunately, there are families that don't say anything, or even worse, there are families that don't even believe the child or the person. They just don't even believe them at all, and that's so horrible. And if you are listening and you are one of those people, I am so sorry that that has happened to you, and that once you did say something, you were made to feel as if it was your fault. I am so sorry for that. And I pray that the Father heals your heart, heals your spirit from that place of brokenness and hurt and pain and all of that. But as I end story time here, I just want to say that the unique blessing in this was that it was blocked out from me. That's the unique blessing, is that it was blocked out from me, and I was able to live a thriving life even with that type of thing that has transpired. I was able to live a pretty normal life in that space, not knowing what had transpired when I was younger, and only finding out until later. And so I would like to end story time here for today. And woo, if you have gotten this far with me, thank you for joining me on that journey right there. And join me next week. Not next week, next episode. I'll be back before next week. Join me next episode where we are breaking those barriers and we are healing those shattered dreams, one story at a time. Bye.